Hello, my name is Ben,
And my name's Josh.
and welcome back to FPL Graduates. Welcome back to another video, another game week full of surprises, or maybe not really so many surprises in the FA Cup. We're ready to go straight into game week 27. Let's go straight into mine and Josh's teams for this week.
Okay, so getting started into my team then. So my plan at the moment, just to sort of reiterate if you haven't seen any previous videos, will be not to free hit in game week 29 to try and play that game week just in free transfers really and potentially a couple of hits. And then my plan is to use the free hit a little bit later on down the line. So yeah, in goal we've got obviously Areola, Everton away. It's between him and Emi Martinez for me this week. And obviously Aston Villa have Luton away from home as well. Luton haven't failed to score in the Premier League since like the beginning of November. So for me, against Everton, I think it's a little bit better fixture despite the defence for Everton, West Ham, not being as good as maybe the Villa defence. So that's the thought process going into that. Hopefully Areola can keep a clean sheet or at least some saves in there. In the defence, I've got Saliba, Walker and Van Dijk. There's potential for me to move on Kyle Walker this week, potentially for a Bournemouth defender or a Luton defender. Haven't really made my mind up yet, but that's where my transfer is probably going to lie this week, unless I want to bring in someone like Heung-min Son, which I'll discuss in a little bit longer. Saliba, though, Sheffield United away. You'd expect a clean sheet there with Arsenal being the best defence in the league so far this season. And then Van Dijk with Forest as well. Obviously, Van Dijk's been quite a threat from set pieces since all these injuries have happened. So potentially some attacking threat with him as well there. What's your thoughts on that defence, Ben? Would you get rid of Walker this week or hold for one more?
Okay, so yeah, the defence of Josh's team I like. Areola, I think, is the better choice. Like you said, Luton are decent in terms of goal scoring form at home. They even sort of picked up a couple of goals in midweek as well. I think Kyle Walker is a relatively easy sell, I'd say. I just think City don't keep clean sheets. I don't think they'll keep one against Man United. I think there's going to be a lot of goals, and he just doesn't provide the attacking threat and the threat from set pieces that sort of the other City defenders might be able to do. But yeah, like Van Dijk, a really decent option this week again. Nottingham Forest away, and your strategy for free hitting in 29, obviously it's going to mean, or not free hitting in 29, is obviously going to be a little bit tougher, but it may be a couple of red arrows going into sort of the next 3, 4, 5 game weeks, but you could see sort of good gains as a result of it going sort of out into 34, 37. So yeah, I think your defense is fairly well set up regardless, but if there are no other issues in your team, then you'd probably be looking at a Walker sell there.
Moving on to the midfield, then we've got Foden. First of all, I will not be selling him ahead of that United fixture. United have so many injuries at the moment. Maguire has almost been confirmed out as well by Eric Ten Hag, so a really lacklustre defence. If there's literally any more injuries in that team, in defence especially, they'll be playing youth academy players in defence. So yeah, I think if you've got Man City players, especially like De Bruyne, Foden, those kind of guys, I'd definitely be holding them for at least one more week before they go on to that run against Liverpool and Arsenal in the weeks after. After him, it's Cole Palmer, Brentford away, really nice fixture. Brentford are shipping goals like crazy, and obviously Cole Palmer on penalties. Chelsea's one of their biggest attacking threats as well. Jarrod Bowen, obviously coming off the back of that hat trick, absolutely buzzing. Picked him up last week. Saw the Douglas Luiz brace, who I was going to go for, wasn't too happy, and then he went and scored a hat trick on Monday night, which was ideal. So he's got Everton away. Again, a decent fixture for West Ham. Obviously, since Paqueta came back into the team, you can just see how much he improves that West Ham lineup. It was good to see on Monday night. And then to finish off the midfield is obviously Bukayo Saka, a potential captaincy option this week if you really wanted to go against Haaland, against United. But I think the injuries for United sort of just swing it his way a little bit. One of the caveats to that is that Bukayo Saka obviously gets more points for the goals, potentially easier to get bonus points as well. So yeah, there is definitely strong argument for Bukayo Saka captain. Have you considered it this week, Ben?
No, I haven't. And I just think, despite Saka getting more points, for goals and clean sheets, I still think Haaland's ceiling is much, much higher for this gaming. Like you said, United's injury concerns and City's goal scoring threat is clear to see. And Sheffield United will drop back, drop deep. Away from home is not the easiest anyway. So let's see what happens with that. Saka, everyone's going to own anyway, but I definitely sort of leaned more towards Haaland. And then the rest of the midfield, yeah, you're all set and well and good. Some decent fixtures in there. Double up on West Ham, which even though they haven't been playing too great of late, it's still sort of decent to have, especially a lot of managers will be bringing in Bowen this week. And yeah, the only sort of omission that we can see potentially is maybe a Tottenham player for Palace at home.
Yeah, and then moving on to my strike force now. A front three, it's like the template front three that most managers will have at the moment. It's Ollie Watkins, obviously he's in unbelievable form, won't be going anywhere on my team. Erling Haaland is on the armband for United at home. I just can't see a game where he doesn't score. So yeah, he's definitely going to be the armband for this week. And then obviously the main man, Dominic Solanke, potentially picked up like a knee injury. We haven't really got a confirmed report right now in terms of if he'll be fit for the weekend. The last thing we heard was after the Bournemouth FA Cup game that Dominic Solanke couldn't make the squad because he had an MRI scan on his knee on Tuesday. But Iraola was hopeful that he will play this weekend. So hopefully we get to hear a little bit more tomorrow or today, as you'll probably be watching this on Friday. So keep posted on our Twitter and Instagram. You don't have Solanke, Ben, do you? So what's your thoughts on him in terms of bringing him in right now?
I do have Solanke.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I brought him in last week, and obviously because he's done nothing of note, that was it there. But yeah, like even sort of this evening at the time of recording, there's reports coming out, sort of unconfirmed reports. That it's not as serious as first seemed, and he's in contention at least to play against Burnley, which is decent news. And like you said, we should find out a little bit more information tomorrow about that. But if I didn't have him, I'd maybe hold and wait on the information before making a decision on that, and I'd maybe even roll the free transfer and not really make a move elsewhere if you're looking to bring Solanke in sort of the next couple of game weeks.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And then moving on to my bench, as I mentioned earlier, I've got Emi Martinez on there. Not a bad option this week. Like if you only owned Emi Martinez, I would consider starting him. But as I mentioned at the start of the video, that's the reason I'm going with Areola. I've got a decent first sub in terms of Anthony Gordon. Wolves at home, easily could start him this week. So if Dominic Solanke is not fit or, is touch and go, I'd be tempted to potentially start Anthony Gordon this week. It's a nice first sub to have. And then Reguilon and Charlie Taylor sort of make up the numbers. I have considered Heung-min Son this week, potentially for Phil Foden. It depends if I want to go with my head and my heart with the Man United game. We'll have to wait and see. But I think the sensible move will probably be to bring in a Luton defender, obviously probably Alfie Doughty, for Kyle Walker. They don't have a great fixture this week, which is the only issue. It is Aston Villa away. Aston Villa at home, sorry. So that's the only concern there. It was going to be a Bournemouth defender, but I'm just not so sure I can sort of stretch my team far enough, given the fact that we've got the blank game week in Gameweek 29. So that's my transfer thoughts at the moment. Obviously, stay posted on Instagram and Twitter, and we'll update you over there.
Okay, so moving on into my team, and similarly, I've started Areola in goal. The decision for me was fairly simple. It's either him or Dubravka, and I think going Areola this week, sort of better fixture. Like maybe it is even a little bit closer than Josh's decision, but I back West Ham this week to keep a clean sheet. They probably should have kept a clean sheet last week against Brentford, but there we are. Udogie has trained all week and should get that flag off him for Crystal Palace at home, and I think he's a really nice differential to own this week against Palace, who are injury hit. Yes, they've got a new manager, but I do think the attacking potential is still really there. Estepinian is someone who I'm not so happy with. Fulham away, I'd say he's probably a 50-50 chance that he even starts this week. As we know, Tariq Lamptey wasn't in the squad for Brighton midweek, but it wasn't an injury either, so we have to sort of bear that in mind. Gabriel, Sheffield United away. Not much more to be said about Arsenal defenders. Lots of managers own them. What are your thoughts on that back four? One sort of obvious weakness in there, isn't there?
Yeah, Estupiñán's the interesting one. Obviously, De Zerbi came out last week, or it might have been this week, sorry, and said basically that he's just not playing up to the standard that De Zerbi knows he can play up to. It was along those lines, the quote anyway. So it doesn't sound good, and obviously Lamptey being back sort of puts the question mark there as well. I got rid of him a couple of weeks ago just because as soon as he started to get that bench, I think when he came off at half time against Luton, it just weren't a good feeling. If he's taking his left back off at half time, it's never usually a good sign. So for me, if I owned him, I'd probably look to move him on. There are a lot of good defensive assets to move to at the moment, so especially with the double coming up as well. Obviously, Udogie, as you mentioned, is a really nice differential. A lot of managers will move to him, probably ahead of Porro at the moment, just because of Porro's fitness just not being quite there. And then, your goalkeeper dilemma, I'd definitely say it's quite a close call, to be honest, especially with Wolves missing Hwang Hee-chan. It's going to be a question mark of who they can even field in the striker position, potentially Neto up there, so they're going to be lacking goal threat. And especially Newcastle at home, a lot better than they are away from home as well. They're not going to ship maybe like 4 goals like they did to Arsenal. So, I'd be tempted to start the Dubravka if I was in your shoes.
Yeah, a tempting decision, a difficult one. Obviously, Newcastle's defence numbers were so good at the start of the season, so bad sort of now. That's the big decision to make there. Moving on into the midfield then, and like Josh, we've got Cole Palmer in the midfield for that fantastic fixture against Brentford away. Really expecting some decent returns from him. Similarly, we also have Phil Foden. Now, at the start of the week, there was a possibility that Foden would come out this week for Mohamed Salah. I could make that move in one free transfer. Obviously, Salah hasn't been in the squad this week, not in the squad for the FA Cup fixture, so I don't think I'm going to be bringing him in this week for that nice fixture against Forest away. Anthony Gordon seems to be continuing his scoring form, even midweek again. Anticipate him starting again against a Wolves team that can either be really decent defensively or not so great. So, interesting one there. Newcastle, as Josh said, are so good at home as well. And then Bukayo Saka on the vice captaincy. Yes, I haven't thought about captaining him this week, but I'll whack the vice on him just in case. Josh, a fairly template midfield there.
Yeah, exactly. Obviously, I own all 4 of them. Just one of them is on my bench. Obviously, Anthony Gordon's home form is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, he pretty much returns almost every single week he plays at home. So, for me, that's a bit of a worry benching him this week. But it's sort of the biggest evil that I have in my team. We've got too many good options, unfortunately, which is the problem playing with those 8 attackers that a lot of managers have had this season. I had the problem earlier in the season as well, benching Cole Palmer. So, yeah, it's one of those where the more I'm thinking about it, the more I want to play Anthony Gordon this week.
Getting tempted by it. And then moving on to the strikers, we got Haaland, Watkins and Solanke, just like Josh and just like most FPL managers. Really am hoping that Solanke sort of is potentially playing and sort of fit to play this game. Hopefully, like I said, today we'll find out. Ollie Watkins in great form, Luton away as well as a good fixture. And Haaland on the captaincy, of course. His fixture is fantastic. He's in good form as well. And then on the bench, more flags. So we've had a bit of an injury hit week. Hwang Hee-chan hasn't been a great transfer in. Got an injury sort of last game. In midweek in the FA Cup, which is not ideal at all, which obviously potentially forced my hand in looking at starting Dubravka or not. Obviously, Konza has been back in training as well. Let's find out an update on him. If he is potentially sort of back in the team, could be tempting to do it against Luton away as a differential. Like Josh said, Martinez could also be a good differential. And then Ait Nouri, fairly safe to say I won't be starting him playing away from home. He got that fantastic call last week for me. He's done enough in my team. So the initial thoughts are, if Solanke's fit, I could probably get away with rolling the free transfer to go into the double game week and again, try and really attack that the double before going into a free hit. The alternative is going Hwang Hee-chan potentially all the way up to Heung-min Son, which is a really interesting move. I've got the money in the bank to do it. I've got 5.7 in the bank, so I've got plenty of funds in there. Josh, what are the thoughts on sort of this game week, this team? Is holding the free transfer the play, or do we go the temptation of going Heung-min Son with a fantastic home fixture?
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and I think it all relies on one thing, and that's Dominic Solanke's fitness. I think if he is, a doubt potentially going into that fixture, I think I would probably pull the trigger on that Son move. But the problem you're going to have if you do buy Son is who are you going to replace in the starting 11? There's, like similar to my team, there's 7 really good attackers there with really good fixtures. So it's just whether you can find a reason to sort of remove one of them. And obviously with a Stupinan in that defence as well, there's sort of a hole there that you could easily sort of fill now, and then bring in someone ready for the double next week potentially. So yeah, it's definitely a tough decision, and I think obviously paying as close attention to press conferences will sort of make that easier.
Yeah, paying close attention, and obviously, like you said, it'll be a tough decision to make benching going forward if I do get Son in, because, like I said, like a few sort of cheaper midfielders is always a good option to have. But yeah, that's the team going into it. We'll see what happens in those press conferences.
Okay, so that wraps up our Game Week 27 team selection video. If you need help with your transfers, check out our transfer plans video at the start of the week. A lot of you guys loved that video, sort of a new video that we brought to the channel, so make sure you check it out if you haven't already.
And as always, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And as usual, I've been Ben.
I've been Josh.
And we'll see you guys
later. Have a good game week, everyone.